Oftentimes, an ayahuasca ceremony, any plant medicine ceremony, and really most of life is just about getting out of your own way and trusting the process. Ayahuasca ceremonies really offer us a unique opportunity, a unique chance to experience this process of deep surrender and of letting go. They invite us to surrender to our own resistance, to release expectations, and to really sit with and witness the transformative power of this sacred plant medicine and of our own healing journey. So in this video, we are talking about surrender, and more specifically, surrender when it comes to ayahuasca and when it comes to working with plant medicine. Surrender, especially in a plant medicine journey, when things start to get challenging, when it starts to get intense, or when things are happening that we don't necessarily understand, surrender is possibly one of the most challenging things that we can do in that moment. But thankfully, there really are practical steps that can be taken, that you can take to be able to better navigate these challenging circumstances and more deeply, more fully surrender when the opportunity presents itself. This could be the most important step when it comes to fully surrendering, and I think that this could really make a very, very big difference for you. And it is simply to shift, to reframe your idea, your concept of what it truly means to surrender. I really want to highlight here that surrender is not about perfection. It is not about just fully letting go and melting into the clouds and never feeling any fear or resistance ever again. That is not what it is all about, and that's not what we have to be aiming for, because truly that just ends up bringing even more judgment into the situation than we need. True surrender is so simple, and what it is being fully present to whatever is in that moment. Whether or not you label it as good or bad, it is being with the truth of yourself in that moment, no matter what. The thing about this idea of surrender is it is thrown around so much in the ayahuasca world, in the plant medicine world. Like, leading up to any of these ceremonies, this word, this concept of surrender is brought up a lot. It's like, just surrender to the moment. All you have to do is surrender. And I think oftentimes there isn't a lot of digging beyond that point of what that really means. And so I know for myself, and for many people who I have worked with and witnessed going through their own plant medicine experiences, it's like, okay, what does that mean? How do I surrender? What does that look like? And what steps can I take? And it's given so much importance, this concept of surrender, that I think often we build up this, we put it on a pedestal. That's what I'm looking to say. We put this idea of surrender on a pedestal. And so if we get to the point in our journey, in our ceremony, where something is coming up and it's challenging, or it's scary, or it's fearful, or causing anxiety, and we feel like we can't surrender to that, we actually start to judge ourselves even more. We start to freak out even more because the expectation is that we have to surrender. No, I'm not doing it right. Why can't I surrender? I'm not gonna get what I need from this. What the F is happening right now? It's like this continuous loop that just puts us further and further into the act of not being able to surrender. And then you start to judge yourself because you believe by not surrendering that you aren't getting what you need from the experience. But here's the thing, just because you are experiencing emotional distress or turmoil, or you are feeling challenging emotions, doesn't by default mean that you are not surrendering. Because if you can sit with those feelings and emotions, if you can be with them, regardless of what they are. That is surrender. Eckhart Tolle said, "Don't look for peace. Don't look for any other state than the one you are in now. Otherwise, you will set up inner conflict and unconscious resistance. Forgive yourself for not being at peace. The moment you completely accept your non-peace becomes transmuted into peace. Anything you accept fully will get you there, will take you to peace. This is the miracle of surrender." So rather than judge yourself, rather than identifying with the judgment and the thoughts that come up, use this opportunity to sit with what is, to be with what is, and to really soothe yourself in that moment. This is what I feel right now, and it is okay to feel that way. I am afraid, and that is okay. I have no idea what the F is happening right now, and we are just gonna be okay with that. In a way, it's almost like you are using the opportunity to soothe a child. And this is a really important thing to note and to mention, because oftentimes the fear, the resistance, and some of these challenging emotions that come up in plant medicine journeys are actually energies that have been stuck and lodged in the body. And this energy is now surfacing to be released. As children, we do not have the emotional capacity, the capability to process and to work through all situations that might arise, especially traumatic experiences. And trauma can mean so many different things, right? It doesn't have to be like big T trauma, an extremely traumatic experience. It could be, something like your parents yelling at you, but you not knowing properly how to process the emotions that arise. And so any kind of traumatic experience that happens when we are a child, because we do not have the capacity to fully process that and to release it from the cellular body, we store these emotions, and oftentimes as children, we may even disassociate from an incredibly traumatic experience. And through disassociating, that energy becomes stuck in the body. So within the plant medicine or psychedelic experience, you are actually being gifted with the opportunity to release this stuck energy. And that can feel extremely overwhelming, of course, because it was overwhelming at the time that it was experienced, so it's going to be overwhelming at the time that it is released. But that is okay. The only way out is through. This is a beautiful opportunity to heal, and it is a beautiful opportunity to practice surrender. And the only thing that makes an emotion painful is our resistance to it. So having the ability to surrender and trust the process will allow this deeper healing and rebalancing to occur more easily and more quickly. My leg is going numb. Okay. All right, so tip number 2, I'm gonna breeze through this one really, really quickly, but I just wanted to touch on it, is to choose a safe center, to choose a safe and reputable retreat center for your plant medicine journey. When you are working with a medicine as powerful as ayahuasca, you are putting yourself into an extremely vulnerable state. And in order to be able to truly surrender, you have to feel safe. And so it's really, really important that you are working with an experienced shaman or shamans and experienced facilitators at a center that provides, adequate support, adequate preparation, and integration support as well. I did talk about this in a little bit more detail in my original ayahuasca video. I will link that in the description box below. And I do dive into some additional tips and insights from my experience working at a plant medicine center. But if you would like more information about this, if you would like a video on how to choose a plant medicine or an ayahuasca retreat, please let me know in the comments, and I would love to make that for you guys. All right, so my next tip to help you surrender is to relax and properly prepare yourself before your ceremonies. There are things that you can do in the time leading up to your retreat or your ceremonies, and just in life in general, that will make this process of surrender so much easier. So some of these practices include meditation, and meditation is such a beautiful, powerful practice for really being more present and detaching from your thoughts and emotions and purely allowing yourself to be the witness of what is coming up for you. Breath work is another really powerful practice for allowing yourself to more deeply surrender, and also for nervous system regulation. Regulating your nervous system, calming your nervous system before you work with something like ayahuasca will really, really support you in this process of surrendering and just in general with your ceremonies. When we have an overstimulated nervous system, or when we have activated the sympathetic nervous system, which is like fight or flight, that is when we are going to experience the stress and the anxiety and the fear. But if we can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest, the calming aspect of the nervous system, we're really able to breathe more deeply, relax more fully, and just trust the process, because our body is in a more safe and relaxed state. Time in nature. This is like one of my absolute favorite tips, and I feel like it is so simple but so profound. According to Harvard Medical School, time in nature can help you break the continuous loop of control, negative thoughts, and stress that accompany trying to maintain control. Calming nature sounds and even outdoor silence can lower blood pressure and levels of the stress hormone cortisol, which calms the body's fight or flight response. Even just looking at images of nature can have the same kind of response for our cortisol levels, for our stress response. And so if you can't get outside, spend some time maybe just looking at images of nature, or listening to a meditation that has nature sounds, nature noises, and this will really support you also in relaxing and being able to more deeply surrender throughout your journey. My next tip for preparing before your ceremonies is to follow the diet, to follow the ayahuasca diet and really prepare your body. And again, I'm not going to go into this too deeply here. I actually have 2 full videos on the pre-ayahuasca diet for before your ceremonies, and on the post-ayahuasca diet for after your ceremonies. So I will link those videos in the description box below. But the main thing to know here is that a clean body really supports a clean mind. And so by entering the space of the ceremony and working with ayahuasca, having cleansed your body physically, you will be able to work with the medicine in a much easier way and really show the medicine that you are committed to this healing practice. I promise you, it will just make the whole experience a lot gentler as well. And finally, be aware of what you are allowing into your space and into your consciousness. What music, what people and relationships. Maybe this is a great time for a social media detox or digital detox, but really allow yourself to separate a little bit from the things, technologies, people that stress you out or maybe a little bit more negatively affect your energy in the time leading up to your ceremonies. So again, you can relax more deeply and you will feel more relaxed, and it will just be so much easier for you to let go and surrender in the time of your plant medicine journeys. All right, the next one is one with a little asterisk next to it because this is not going to be the answer for everyone, and I do not want people to think that I am saying that this is the answer, but it is just a suggestion and it is just something to consider, and that is your dosage, okay? So when it comes to the dosage of ayahuasca, oftentimes a retreat center is going to have like a standard dose that they start everyone off with. And then after taking that initial dose, you may have the opportunity for a second dose, even a third. And then from the next night on, you can kind of build or taper off or cater whatever it is that you need based on your experience. What I will say here is that sometimes too little medicine, like too low of a dose, can almost be a little bit more challenging. And this, again, is not for everyone, but I have experienced this myself. I have seen this myself, where if we don't have enough medicine, we're kind of in this strange in-between space of sort of starting to tap into that space of consciousness, but also really still being very heavily identified with the mind and the ego and its thoughts. And so the resistance can almost be even stronger in that situation. So I'm not telling you to go balls to the wall and to drink 4 cups of ayahuasca. That is not what I'm saying here. But if you have had, 1 ceremony or 2 ceremonies and you're really feeling like you can't surrender, maybe consider talking with the shamans or talking with the facilitators and seeing if going up in the dosage a little bit more might be of service to you and might help you to be able to just move past that mental chatter and that ego resistance and more fully surrender into the experience with the medicine. So the 5th tip for surrendering with the medicine is to have an intention or a mantra for the space of your ceremony. And this is something that can be so helpful in really serving as an anchor to ground you and as a word or phrase to come back to help you surrender when things are becoming a little bit more challenging or a little bit intense. Again, keep it simple here. We don't want to have to remember or memorize something like super long and complicated. So 1 or 2 words that you can hone back in on and repeat, like I said, as a mantra will be super helpful here. So this could be literally just the word surrender. It could be let go, relax, allow, I'm safe, trust, or whatever resonates for you. Number 6 is to release expectations. Ayahuasca gives you what you need, not necessarily what you want. And your experience will not be like anyone else's experience. It will not even be like your own experiences if you have worked with this medicine in the past. Every single ceremony is unique, and it might not unfold in the way that you expect, and that is okay. Healing doesn't always happen in ways that we consciously understand. Plant medicine, medicines like ayahuasca are beyond the mind. They're beyond our concepts and really beyond all logic. And the foundation of letting go and surrendering to the moment is to trust what you are in, whatever it is, and allow the medicine to do its thing. Rather than thinking, this isn't what's supposed to be happening, this isn't what I wanted, this isn't what I expected. Continue to trust that your intentions are being met on energetic levels. Again, it all comes back to being fully present with whatever is in the moment. Number 7 is to be the witness. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. It is not the thought, the feeling, the emotion, the experience that is causing you suffering. It is the stories that you create. It is the way that you identify to those things that is causing your suffering. In the space of ceremony, if things are getting really challenging, this is also a beautiful opportunity to witness your breath, to come back to your breath. Your breath is a powerful force, a powerful life force. And So if you're having a hard time with what's coming up, come back to really focusing on your breathing, and this will support you in calming your body and calming your nervous system and allowing yourself to surrender in that space more deeply and to be the witness of everything else that is coming up with you in that moment. Number 8 is to reevaluate your relationship, your definition, and what you believe about darkness. Part of what makes surrender so challenging in a plant medicine journey is the fact that we are so averse to negative emotion. We are so opposed to things that we consider to be bad or dark or negative. And honestly, this could be a complete video in and of itself, but I really invite you here to reframe the way you look at darkness. Our dark side, our shadow, is generally made up of the parts of ourselves we deem unworthy or unacceptable. And we have been largely taught to fear and reject that which is unknown. But what if your darkness is actually a key to your liberation? The darkest experience that I have ever had with ayahuasca forced me to look at my own fears, my deepest fears and shame and trauma. I had to look at it head on. Everything I had buried, the deepest corners of my mind that I had repressed, which, although hidden and pushed away, were directing my life in an unconscious way. So by facing my darkness head on, I was actually given an opportunity. I was given the chance to see, accept, and integrate my shadow so as to no longer be unconsciously ruled and driven by it. To shed light on my wounds and allow myself the opportunity for greater healing, understanding, and transformation. For true wholeness means shadow and light unified. Number 9 is to send love to whatever comes up. And this can be very challenging. It took me a long time to get to this space. I worked with ayahuasca multiple times in a row. And for a chunk of time, for some reason, every single ceremony was just what seemed like very negative energies coming at me. And, I would try to put up my boundaries and just hold and protect my space. And at times I would try to send them away. I wanted to reject them. I didn't want to allow them into my space. I didn't understand why they were there. I just really was avoiding them or fighting them. And it wasn't until I just couldn't do it anymore. And in this situation, it was almost like I was just exhausted to the point of surrender. And rather than fighting these energies, rather than judging them or fearing them, I just started to send them love. And I said, I don't understand you. I don't know what you are, and maybe I never will, but I send you love, and that's all I can do. And in that moment, it disappeared. And those energies never came back in that same way. And it really reminded me that everything is love. That is what we are made of. That is what created all of us. And so, of course, all energies, that's what they want. That's what we all desire, is to come back to this space and energy of love and acceptance and connection. And so by sending loving energy to the things, to the energies, to the experiences that might seem challenging, it can really help us in facilitating the release of these stored emotions and of making the process of surrender just that much easier. Finally, before we get into the integration tips, number 10 is to not judge yourself if you aren't able to fully surrender in the space of the ceremony. Sometimes our plant medicine journeys can actually leave us feeling even more confused or scared or uncertain, especially if the medicine didn't necessarily touch upon the intentions that we had. You might not understand right away, and that is okay. This, in and of itself, is another opportunity to surrender. The true healing that comes from working with ayahuasca, from working with these sacred plant medicines, it doesn't end when the ceremony ends. Ayahuasca, you know, some would say it works with you for days, weeks, months. I believe probably a lifetime we are working with this medicine. And so the healing continues. And again, it is a journey. Just as surrender is a journey, healing is a journey. All right, so the bonus tip here is really shifting into the integration space and, you know, continuing to work with this process and practice of surrender after the ceremony itself. The idea of surrender really boils down to one question: do you trust life? Surrendering extends beyond the ayahuasca ceremony and becomes a practice to incorporate into everyday life. It's about recognizing resistance and consciously choosing to surrender to the flow of life. Continuing to cultivate practices such as meditation, breath work, journaling, and connecting with nature and loved ones to further support surrender and presence. So those are all of the tips in terms of surrendering in the ayahuasca experience before, during, after. And I did mention that I would share a couple book recommendations with you guys. So there are 2 books that I think could really support you in diving deeper into this process of surrendering. So the first one is, checking my notes here, The Surrender Experiment, My Journey into Life's Perfection by Michael A. Singer. And I will link both of these books, obviously, in the information box below. And the second one is Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender by David R. Hawkins. So both of those are really great resources if you are looking to dive more deeply into surrender, into letting go, and especially maybe something to read if you are wanting to prepare yourself for your first or any ayahuasca ceremonies. I am also in the process right now of creating a guided meditation to use before any plant medicine or psychedelic experience. That should be out very soon for you guys. If that is something that you are interested in, do subscribe to this channel because that should be out within, I would say, the next week. And hopefully that is something that can really help you before any psychedelic or plant medicine journeys, or just to surrender in general. So I really, really, truly hope that you found this video helpful. If you have any questions diving deeper into ayahuasca or anything within the healing journey, please, please, please do leave a comment. Like this video if you found it helpful. Thank you so, so much for being here. And until next time, I will see you in the next video.